Chapter 7 Railroad Radio Rules. The following rules and requirements cover the use of railroad radio systems governed personnel and use of system. Rule 501, internal adjustment. All personnel except for the specialized authorized Federal Communication Commission, those holding all current certified technician certification, are prohibited from making any internal adjustments for the railroad radio. Authorized personnel must carry the Federal Communication Commission's operator license certified technician certification verification when on duty. Rule 42, prohibited transmission permit. Personnel shall not knowingly transmit any false emergency communication, unnecessary, irrelevant, and unidentified communication, not utter an absent incident, profane language of the via radio. Personnel shall not divulge public extent, content, effect, and meaning of any communication. The emergency communication exceeds, except to the rule from whom the communication is intended from to and is intended or to another individual of the railroad whose duties may require knowledge of the communication. The above applies to the communication received directly to it and any other be by intercepted. Rule 503, emergency calls. An emergency call will proceed by the word emergency repeated 3 times. Such calls shall be used to cover initial reports of derailments, collisions, storms, washouts, fires, obstructions of the track. Emergency calls are covered other than matters will be caused by serious delay, traffic damage to property and surety. The personnel, traffic, public must contain the completion information as possible. All personnel must give an absolute priority communication from the station to stress, except for the answering aiding station shall refrain to the sending of the communication until ensuring the non-inference will result. Rule 504, inspections. All personnel shall permit their inspection of the radio equipment and the change of all Federal Communication Commission's Fed documentation pertaining to such equipment and an accredited representative of the Federal Communication Commission at any reasonable time. Rule 505, limit location of radio base or wayside station. The time station attended assigned channels when designated timetable. Other instructions. 506, and before transmitting individual operation must ensure the channels and is not ready to use. The operator must give a required identification. Listening to the acknowledgement of the person receiving the transmission must not proceed the transmission until the acknowledgement is received. Rule 507, identification. Personnel transmitting and acknowledging the radio communication must begin with a radio identification. The order must include the following information: Bayside or wayside station name, initials, railroad name and location, or unique designation office of station, mobile units name, initials of the railroad, train number, engine number, words that identify the prescribed mobile unit. In exchange for the communication continues without substantial interruption. Personnel repeat identification each 15 minutes after positive identification has been made. The switching of classification. Similarly, operations wholly within a yard fixed and mobile may be used. Identification and initial transmission and knowledge. For Rule 508, the person receiving a radio call must delay acknowledge unless it would interfere with duties relating to the safety. 509, repetition. An individual who receives transmission must repeat the transmission party except for when the communication relieves to switch the operation to the recorded message of automatic alarm devices. In general, the natural nature and does not contain information instruction advised with the effect of the safety of the railroad operation. 510, over to indicate the receiving personnel the transmission ended in the response over, and the transmission person must say the word over. Rule 511, out to indicate the receiving person in exchanging the transmission complete. That no response is expected. The transmission person is identification followed by the word out. 512, monitoring. When the Bayside, wayside, mobile units are mained, radio must be turned an appropriate channel of the volume adjusted for the received communication. All transmissions directed to the main station mobile unit must be acknowledged. 13, misuse of the radio communication must not be used to avoid compliance with the rule. Rule 514, not understanding completed radio communication understood completed according to the rules must be acknowledged upon, must be treated as though it was not sent, except all exceptions. An exception would be an information received within an effect of safety personnel or public or cause damage to property. If necessary, movement must be stopped and understanding have been reached. Rule 515, testing radios using train operations outside yard limits must be tested and the point where the train is originally made. Rule 516, operator radio engineers and conductors must test the radio at least once during each tour of the duty to ensure the radio is working. 517, testing transmission radio test must consist of exchanging the voice transmission with another radio. Radio test helps ensure the voice transmission of readable and good quality. Rule 518, manufacturing radio malfunction in radio must not be turned. Each crew member of a train dispatcher designated personnel must notify the malfunction alternate means of communication as soon as possible. Rule 519, fixed signal information on railroad must not be used in information of a train engine crew about name, position, aspect, indication displayed to the signal. Information may only be given between the members of the same crew who are necessary to give it in warning in an emergency. 520, lieu and hands. The radio is being used in lieu of hand signals. Direction descents to be traveled must be given. Movement must be stop one half of the distance specified unless additional instruction are received. Rule 521, transmitting train orders. Train orders transmitted to the radio, they must be transmitted according to applicable operating rules following the guidelines. The train dispatcher operator shall call the addressee and the train order state in the intention of the transmitter of the train order. Before the train order is transmitted to the person to receive and copy the train order shall state his name, rank, and identification location. Prepared to receive the train order. Train orders must be copied to personnel operating the control on an engine movement. Train orders are transmitted to the crew of the moving train, the conductor, of the engineer. The train dispatcher must decide if the train can be received, copied without impairing the safety operation of the train. Train order. Train order shall be copied in the writing by the receiving person if the format prescribed in the operating rules, except for the provided by the Rule 514. Before the train order is acted to, the conductor engineer must have the written copy of the train order. They must ensure the train order is read and understood by other members of the crew, except provided by Rule 514. The train order transmitted by the radio has been made by the complete and may be acted upon and may be treated through the though not sent. Information contained with the train order may not be acted on the person other than those to whom the train order is completed. Complete must not be given to the radio transmitted train order. The train's complete response to the knowledge of the train have been restricted. 522, transmit track warrants and track bulletins. When the radio is transmitting track warrant and track bulletins, rules applicable only within 2 limits of the track bulletin rules will be governed. They must not be occupied by a soldier operating the controls on an engine or a moving train. 523, blasting operations. Do not operate a radio transmitter when they are less than 250 feet from blasting operations. Rule 526, clarity. If there's no clarity between the phonetic alphabet shall be used in pronouns. Any letter used in initial except for the initial letters for the railroad. Chapter 8, conducting personnel and safety.